A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. We are powered by the OBBM network. And man, you can just about find us on every platform that's out there. Thank you to OBBM. We are now on Roku. So if you're sitting home in your living room, you can just turn on that Roku channel and you can catch all our episodes. I think you can catch us live on there as well, too. Sam, I don't know.
No, I think it runs 1 day or 2 days behind. But it would be live. It would seem live if you're just
there you go. So but you know, this is your Mental Health Monday, man, and we are going to dive right into just getting healthy with our coping mechanisms and our stresses in our lives and the resources that are out there. You know, Sam, I've been watching, and I hate to watch the news. I really do. It really just
stains me. You're watching the news.
You know, but you know, I feel for our law enforcement that's out there. You know, they're dealing with so much stuff that's going on in this country. And it really, as crime skyrockets, our resources are being diverted to these protests and these things that really should not involve our law enforcement. You know, peaceful protests, you have a couple of people, a couple of cops out there, and everybody stays peaceful. Nowadays, you got to deploy hundreds of cops. You're diverting it away from our citizens, our tax-paying citizens that are, like you said before, the unprovoked attack in New York City where a woman gets stabbed in the eye by, what was it, a pole or an umbrella or something?
I think it was actually a flag at one of these protests. I don't know if it was in New York, but it was a quick blurb, and I was like, "What? She got stabbed in the eye? What?"
You know, and it's a horrible fact as a taxpaying, working, middle-class citizen that you cannot jump on a subway without fear. You can't walk to work without fear. You can't go into a restaurant without fear because one of these groups is going to attack you. When are we going to stop? When is our government going to turn around and say enough is enough and hold these people accountable for their actions?
When our citizens, when we speak up and shine a light on their lack of doing the right thing.
Here goes the problem, because our culture has made it so anti-speaking up for the working class. Because now if you speak up, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that. You're labeled as somebody who is just trying to get on with their daily lives. And it is, we have to switch that. We have to switch that. And our next guest probably sees a majority of, because a lot of our first responders, a lot of our veterans that are dealing with this nonsense, you know, and it's breaking down their coping mechanisms, and they're turning to alcohol, they're turning to drugs, they're turning to porn, they're turning to gambling, they're turning to all these different addictions, right? That really rips apart their structure, and they're just trying to serve and protect and do the right thing for society, and society is not doing the right thing by them, man. So why don't you introduce our next guest, and you know, he can really bring to light what I'm trying to get you know, across.
Yeah, well, that was great. Without further ado, I'm going to bring Ben on camera. Ben is going to tell his story. It's a very powerful one. We met on LinkedIn, but really the phrase when I was reading about Ben and watching what he was doing, talking to the different groups, is the message is you're not broken, that you know, you have this addiction, you have this thing going on that you don't quite understand, you know, you need help. You know, Ben has served our country gallantly. He's a Green Beret. Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 8 tours. You're in 16 years. And yeah, Ben is now the Veteran Outreach Coordinator with Treehouse Recovery. Ben, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast.
Yeah, Thank you, Sam and John. It's a pleasure being here. I'm honored to be able to talk with you guys and again get the resource or get the word out about Treehouse. And by sharing my story, hopefully people listening can learn something and maybe utilize some of the tools that I have used to create new healthy behaviors.
Absolutely. So why don't you just, for everybody that's listening and watching, just tell everybody about you, your story.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. So 16 years in the military, but my struggles began before entering the military. Grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Always been involved in team sports. And always thrived in team sports. I went to college at Bowling Green State University on a Division I college soccer scholarship and played there for 3 years, and later transferred to the University of Dayton where I graduated. During my college years, that's when alcohol became a part of me. I was always in denial about my struggles and how I was handling life stressors. Um, but after graduating college, I enlisted in the United States Army with a contract to have the opportunity to earn my Green Beret. And that's what I did. And in 2011, I was stationed at 5th Special Forces Group in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Um, from 2011 till this year, I struggled about 14 of those years. I struggled with alcohol addiction, back and forth, some suicide ideations. Um, Yet I still achieved a lot, and I was the tip of the spear, as every single Green Beret is. Um, I was able to deploy 8 times to the Middle East, everywhere from being in a small team house in the middle of the desert, running combat operations, to working at the United States Embassy, interacting with the ambassador. Um, so I really I've been able to experience all the opportunities that a Green Beret can, um, but struggling with it. And 2000, I'd say 2016, returning back from Syria, I knew I had to get some help. I was fearful of the stigma, right? The stigma is you raise your hand, you ask for help. Um, you may lose your career. I know that that stigma is still there, dampered, but it's still there with the military and especially the law enforcement agencies as well. But I did. So I didn't ask for help, but I took leave and I went to a detox
Let
for
me
2 weeks.
Ben, let me
Yeah,
ask
go
something.
ahead, John.
You're coming back. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I
No.
I don't want to skip over this because there may be a lot of people thinking that you what was that aha moment? You said 14 years, and then you're coming back from Syria, and you realized you needed help. What was that? What made that realization come to light? What was that light bulb that said, I do need help? Because
Yeah.
some people may see it and maybe not even notice it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was consuming my life. When we come home and we redeploy, we often take 30 days of leave. And that first week, all I could do was drink. And then the suicidal ideations came, the shame, the guilt, the full gambit. And I really sat there and I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like the addiction's extremely powerful. And as I continue with my story, you'll see how much of a grip it had on me. And I just continued to struggle, but I could not stop. Um, but again, I was fearful of the repercussions that was to come if I did raise my hand. Um, so that I paid out of pocket, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go to detox. And 2 weeks, as everyone knows, is not enough. Yeah, I was uh, alcohol free, but after those 2 weeks, I came home. I thought, okay, hey, that was it. That's all I needed. Right? I've accomplished so many things. I can handle it. And about 2 months later, I was right back into it. Um, and for the next 5 years after that, I struggled, and it continued to affect my personal life, my professional life, and I just continue to isolate more. I continue to drink more often, more frequently. I'd go to different liquor stores, right? And because I didn't want them to label me as an alcoholic, right? Um, However, I was in denial the whole time. Being able to reflect and look back on it, I was in denial. I knew I had a problem, but I was unwilling to admit that. Um, so fast forward till 2021, when I had an opportunity to go up to Washington D.C. for a course, and I knew that I could not be successful in that course on the route I was at. I couldn't stop drinking. I couldn't, you know, that was my life. It had that grasp on me. And so at that point, I weighed the pros and cons. I was like, well, I'm not going to be in the military for the rest of my life. I'm going to be a father, a son, a brother, and a friend for the rest of my life. And I need to get this fixed. So although I was still worried that, hey, if I do raise my hand, I may not be able to attend that course. But I did it anyways. I said, hey, I need something. So I raised my hand, went to my superiors and said, hey, I have a problem. And boy, was I wrong. It was, they were like, okay, we'll fix this. Let's get a grasp. Let's take care of this problem, um, and get you back and get you better. So went to a 30-day inpatient program. Um, Left that program unequipped. I was sober. I did not have the coping mechanisms, the healthy coping mechanisms to handle life stressors. Although I did stay sober for 18 months afterwards, um, it was just by sheer determination. It wasn't by, uh, like I said, the mechanisms or the healthy coping mechanisms I have today. I was angry.
Mhm.
I thought that if I took out alcohol from my life, everything would be greater. Everything would be better. And it wasn't. I was angry. It still affected my personal life. Um, I decided to um, get prescribed some antidepressants because I figured that might help. And it did for a little bit, but it just did not. It wasn't sustainable. Um, and after 18 months, and June of last year, I have a right hip replacement, and I stopped taking my antidepressants, and I was still struggling. And I made a choice, the wrong choice, but I made a choice to self medicate through THC gummies at night for pain and depression. And that was a choice that I made that I'm accountable for, and I have to pay the price for. Uh, but that was a choice nonetheless. And then of July of last year, a couple things. I was fighting with a significant other, and one thing led to another, and my command was informed of how I was self-medicating. And so I fly back from a training event, and I take a drug test. That next 7 days after that, I relapsed after 18 months. I did not know what was to come. I thought that was my rock bottom. I thought my life was over. I didn't have anything to live. Military was gone. My personal life was gone. So I just made it again a poor decision, and to drink again. And that just I went right back into my addiction. For the next 7 days, all I could do was drink. I drank, and then I woke up in the morning, covered in shame and guilt, and drank again to cope with that shame and guilt. On the fifth day, I actually tried to kill myself drinking, and that was a really low point in my life. Um, But I'll explain to you the powers of addiction and the power of alcohol is after I left from the hospital, I could not stop. And that's just that right there just kind of I want to, illustrate and communicate to the people is that's how powerful this disease can be.
I was just going to say that, Ben. So many people are uneducated about alcoholism or narcotics addiction because they don't understand that the control that has on your life. It's just like eating. It's your body craves it, and there's nothing. Your mind just takes over. Your body just takes over. So, I know, Sam, you want to take a break because I want to hear more about how that takes over your body, and let's educate people on saying, hey, listen, it's a disease. It's
very real
that overcomes your whole well-being. So
we'll take a break real quick and we'll come back. And Ben, this is fascinating, but we'll also talk about your command as well and how they dealt with it. Stay tuned, everybody.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our guest, Ben Monette. Monette.
Yeah.
So that's why Sam does all the introductions.
I swear, Ben, before the show, we're just going to, from now on, John,
I'm so bad with names. I do apologize. But Ben Monette, Ben, before we took the break, we were discussing your career in the military, actually going back to college, and how alcoholism started consuming your life. And we have good triggers, bad triggers, but then you saw the light and you said, I'm going to stop, but certain things got in your way or crossed your path to bring you back to alcohol again. What was that pull to bring you back to alcohol? I mean, was it triggers in your life and your coping mechanisms so low or not perfected, or how did that?
Or not caring almost.
Yeah. It was, I didn't have the ability to handle the stress. I didn't have the community, right? And I spoke about being in a team environment.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a team environment throughout my life, and sobriety was the only thing, or my recovery was the only thing that I chose to do alone. During those 18 months, I didn't have a community that I do have now. And that's what was, a problem with, what I chose to do is I just internalized it all. And I didn't vocalize it. I knew I didn't want to lose those 18 months of sobriety. But I had no one to call, no one to talk to. Well, that's the rephrase. I did have people to call and I did have people to talk to, but I didn't have the willingness or the skills to do that and know how powerful that can be.
So your command, you told them, and then you had the positive drug test. They knew that something was going on. You had gotten, you had done the 2 weeks, and then you did this 30 days. What was kind of their response? Because it seemed like in the beginning they were supportive, like, hey, we'll get you the help you needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So those 7 days when I did relapse, on the 5th day, they knew that I went to the hospital. They took me to the hospital because of my, SI. And that when I got home from the hospital, I went to my behavioral health doctor, and they said the words that changed my life. They said, "Hey, there's a program called Treehouse Recovery, and we think you'd be a great fit." And that same evening, they put me in touch with Treehouse Recovery, and 3 days after that, I was on a plane out to Costa Mesa, California. But but I knew that I had to go someplace, right? Because when I said that I didn't even leaving the hospital, I didn't stop drinking. I knew that I couldn't without help.
It seemed
And
like that was just their way of like, let's just get him in a safe place and get the alcohol out of you. But
absolutely.
was it that they weren't equipped? This hospital, they weren't equipped to deal with all the underpinnings and the true reason of why you're drinking, or
I think that a couple weeks prior to my relapse, individuals from Treehouse Recovery came to our behavioral health department and spoke of what they can offer. And I think it was just fresh in their mind. It's a unique program. It fits military and law enforcement lifestyle. They handle PTSD alongside addiction, and it was a program that behavioral health doctor thought, you know what, hey, let's send someone. Let's see if this is really worth sending other people there. And I was the first active duty soldier to attend Treehouse Recovery, and tell you what, it was amazing. And I'll talk a little bit about Treehouse Recovery, and
it sounds like divine intervention. Like John always says, there's either a person that you'll meet when you need to, or something will come across your path when it's needed, and here we go. So
the one thing, Ben, I got to commend you on is that you knew there was a problem and you seeked out help. So that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of courage. Because you don't know what the response is, but this, we talk about, military and first responders. You get to that door, you don't know what's on the other side of the door, but you have to kick in that door, and you don't know what's going to happen when that door swings open. So it's that fear that's inside you. But sometimes, like what you had that when you kicked open that door and you got some support from your commanders. And so many people are out there have that same thing. Oh, I can't say anything. But you'd be surprised on how many people nowadays will accept and learn and comfort you. Not all, but there are some. I would say more than the 70% that, more than 70% will reach out. You're not alone. You got family, on your shirt. It's the same thing. But if you don't take that step, you'll never know. So you got to kick in that door, and I think that's the military in you that just said, I'm going through it. I'm doing it. And God bless you for taking that step. Man.
Absolutely. And we got to take another quick break, Ben. When we come back, we're going to hear all about Treehouse.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our guest Ben with Treehouse Recovery. You notice I didn't say your last name because I already forgot it.
Nice. I like it, John. I like
this
it.
is what happens, with post-traumatic stress, with addiction problems. You get short-term memory loss. You feel these things, and that could also add frustration factors into your daily life. But when you go to a recovery center like Treehouse Recovery, they teach you the different skills. They let you get inside yourself and bring out those root causes of those problems, and they teach you how to fix them. And what did you find out at Treehouse that you didn't know was inside you?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I talk about Treehouse Recovery,
Sure.
I want to just follow up and close out my story because they'll show how impactful Treehouse Recovery was. So remember when I said that was my rock bottom? Well, I thought that was my rock bottom, right? So I had the blessing to go to Treehouse Recovery for 3 months. And upon return back to Tennessee in January, I spent in 1 week, a calendar week, 5 days, I spent a day in jail due to some family issues with my ex-wife. I was informed that I'm being potentially chaptered out of the military, and the command informed me that due to my positive drug test, that I'm no longer on paper a Green Beret, not longer fit for the duty. All in 1 week. So that was my rock bottom. So if you look and you want to see my perception of rock bottom, with no skills led me to relapse. Now my rock bottom of losing my identity for 16 years, changing my identity to now being a civilian and dealing with some other issues with skills, I was able to overcome that obstacle. And that's why Treehouse Recovery is so near and dear to my heart. It's because I was able to endure so many hardships in 1 week, but I was able to utilize the mechanisms that I was taught in Treehouse to overcome that and successfully continue to stay sober.
Thank God. Thank God. So those three things are so impactful. Losing one's identity and spending all that time in the military, man, just that alone is and I don't want to relapse you, but that's soul crushing. I feel it. I feel it for you. Because you put all that time in that energy, that training, and you know what? God bless Treehouse for giving you those coping skills to be able to overcome that and show that I'm still a person. I'm still Ben. I'm still Ben.
Yes, and that was the thing is me looking at my Beret, after I was driving home, and I had some tears running down my face, and I had some obviously some thoughts, right? I was like, hey, my this Beret doesn't define what I've accomplished, what the type of man I am, or what I will accomplish, right? And I didn't stop there with the vocal axioms. I vocalized it. I gave a phone call to a friend of mine, and I told him the same thing. I told him, hey, this Beret doesn't define my, take away my accomplishments, define the person I am, or what I will. So vocal axioms, the inner self dialogue, coupled with communicating it to someone else, and you can hear it, was just powerful. And now I look at it and I'm able to change my perception is, yeah, I was helping, I was the tip of the spear. I was doing great things for our country, but now I have an opportunity to do the same thing for the veteran and the law enforcement population that was struggling or is struggling like I did.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was great that you got to experience that they opened their doors to you. John and I want to get into, what is the essence of Treehouse, and, we got to take another quick break and then we'll be back. We'll be back with Ben Monette, everybody from Treehouse Recovery. Stay tuned.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and Ben with Treehouse Recovery. You know, that commercial is so perfect, that Carrying Texas, because, you know, it also brings back, there's a statement in your thing that says, you know, how you could just be part of something, like just, you could overcome something, you know, the way you speak in that commercial. And that's what Ben's story is all about. It's overcoming our so-called identities. You know, 18 years as in military or 16 years in military, our officers, our police officers, our firefighters have those same problems when they retire or they lose their job due to an injury. They have these identity problems, and what we have to do is make sure that, tell them that your service is not your identity. It's not who you are. Right. It's what you do. It's what you do.
And you have the skills to rebuild.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And Ben, what you're doing now, it may not be in uniform, but it's so serving to others by so many different means. And we need to focus on that. And everybody needs to focus on that. You are who you are. You know, that serving heart will never go away. The uniform, the beret, the badge, the turnout coat, that all goes away. But who you are will always stay there forever.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, John. So Treehouse Recovery, phenomenal place. So I've been thinking about how I can describe Treehouse Recovery. And each employee of Treehouse Recovery, we view everyone with the unconditional positive potential lens, where we see this individual, just like you were talking about, John, not as, you know, an addict, not as addicted to something, just that person is utilizing an unhealthy coping mechanism. So the moment I stepped off the plane, that's what I was viewed as, is this brother's keeper, the amount of potential that Ben has. Let's get it back into him. Let's train him. Let's show him that his identity is not lost. He's just utilizing unhealthy coping mechanisms, right? And we do it by two ways. First way is we focus on strength-based psychology. We are an active recovery, and I mean that by Monday through Friday. In the mornings, we'll do a community event, a team building event. In California, we were able to go on the boats. So we'd take out whitewater rafting boats, and we'd go, face the Pacific waves with a team. Oftentimes they'll leave for us, flipping the boat, but we endured chaos as a team. So right off the bat, we are learning that anything that life throws at us, we can overcome with a team, with a community. After that, we'll go back to the facility and we work out for about an hour and a half. This is all in teams. So we'll work out as a team. And then right after that workout, we'll go into our addiction education class. Scientific studies show that you prime that brain, you start working out, you release those chemicals in your brain, you are able to learn better, you're able to retain more and recall, the knowledge that you learn in a chaotic moment. So we'll do addiction recovery, psychoeducation, where we'll learn anywhere from boundaries, the stages of relapse, healthy coping mechanisms. Right after that, we'll go into our individual counseling session, and this is one of the reasons what sets Treehouse Recovery apart from a lot of places is in a single week, 5 days, we have 4 one-on-one sessions. So we'll have 2 individual counseling sessions with our counselor, who's, for me, worked heavily with addiction and PTSD. And then 2 additional counseling sessions with a writing program. And this writing program, they were saying, "Hey, you're going to do this writing therapy," and I was like, "What's that?" Like, I don't need writing therapy. But as I continue to do it, there's something to be said about our brains going a mile, so fast, thousands of miles a minute, right? It's just like I'm constantly thinking of the next thing, next thing, next thing. And when I put pen to paper, I'm able to slow my thoughts down. So I would write down certain things. I would write down what my counselor wanted me to write. And then during that hour, I would read it to him and we would discuss it. So the 2 things that really set Treehouse Recovery apart is how we view addiction and how we combat it through physical activity. And secondly, is the amount of counseling sessions we get in any given week. That right there, for me, is like you were coming back. I came back to Fort Campbell, although my situation was different. I was physically fit, but more importantly, I was mentally fit. So I came back in better shape mentally and physically than I ever was. So that's why it's such a great program for individuals who rely on physical fitness to survive, right? Just like law enforcement and military. However, it's not just for law enforcement and veterans and active duty members. We have regular, and I hate to say like regular civilians or civilians, like we all know in our law enforcement or whatever backgrounds that we come from with the government agencies, is we're just regular civilians. So I would just call them civilians now, I guess, because I'm going to become one soon. But it's the interacting with them, right? Is knowing that they are struggling just as much as we are.
Yeah.
And and it's funny, and I'm sure Sam and John, you can contest to this, is like whenever you go to a event or a gala, you can automatically tell law enforcement, military, and we all congregate together, right? We always move to that, and we talk, and then it's like, oh, look at those civilians over there. Well, we intentionally do that. We intermix the veterans, the law enforcement individuals with the civilians, and I'm living testimony of it. It was great. I've learned so much from civilians as I did with the veterans in the program. And then the last thing I want to touch about Treehouse Recovery is we stayed off the facility. So when you come to Treehouse Recovery, or if you come to Treehouse Recovery, you live away from the facility. You commute via bike to the facility. So why do I say that's important? Well, if you're sitting in a hospital setting or a secluded, isolated facility, you could have all the tools you want, but you don't have that tool, or don't have that experience of riding past or driving past that same liquor store that you go to, or that same drug dealer's house that you used to go to. I had that luxury. I drove past or rode past a liquor store. I saw those all while recovering. So I had practice of how to handle that, and didn't have that cultural shock when I left the treatment facility going back to my same liquor store or same drug dealer's house. So that I didn't, coming home and experiencing that and driving past the streets that I used to drive on, and I just drove past and I looked, and I didn't even look twice. I was like, wow, that is powerful.
Yeah, for those of you that have that's what it is amazing, and how they built that into your, we'll call it your training, to have the wherewithal and to be able to see that and know, hey, we got to put that in is important. For those of you who are listening on your favorite podcast app, you can reach out to Treehouse Recovery by visiting their website, treehouserecovery.com. Very straightforward and simple. We have to take our last break, and then we will be back to talk more about Treehouse and with Ben Monette. Stay tuned, everybody.
To the Health Engineer Show. I'm Cliff Ducoy, the Health Engineer, right here on the Offbeat.
Hi, I'm Larry Cortana.
Hi, my name is Susan Hamilton, and you're watching Offbeat.
Hi, this is Doreen Milano. Welcome to Big Ideas Small Business, where we will talk to Terry Arjala.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor with John and Sam and Ben with Treehouse Recovery. Before we left, Ben, you brought up a great thing that Treehouse Recovery does. That, you know, we've talked to a lot of facilities that, you know, the programs are kind of interchangeable in different ways, but Treehouse provides that individuality for you to get to the recovery center. You're living off campus, and to make you get there on your own. That builds such self-confidence within you that, you know, driving past a liquor store, driving past a drug deal that's going down, or a gambling place, or whatever addiction you face, it proves to yourself that, you know, I'm not just sitting in this house locked up for 30 days. I'm out on my own. I can do this. I can't imagine the self-confidence that when you pass that liquor store and you're like, whoop, just, it teaches you life skills outside that 30-day recovery, or 60 or 3 months, whatever you're in. You know, I have not heard that. I think that is such a key aspect in mental health awareness and coping mechanisms. Man, that is wonderful. That is key.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I want to talk about Treehouse is the sense of community. And you know how I talked earlier about, you know, I didn't have that community, you know, battling my recovery earlier on in my life. And, you know, during my time at Treehouse for the 3 months, you know, yeah, I had that confidence, right? But I had that confidence because I was with someone else as well. You know, I was creating those new memories. I was creating, you know, I was facing adversity with someone else. And it just drives home the point of how powerful community can be. I still talk to every single one of, you know, people at Treehouse. I use them as my sounding board, as when things are going, you know, when stressors come up, because guess what? Just because I'm sober doesn't mean life's going to take a break, right? Like, it is always going to take an opportunity to you know, to pull you in all sorts of different directions.
Yeah, spoiler alert. It's
Yeah.
not like, hey,
Life sucks sometimes.
Absolutely. And you know, that, and looking back, I was like, man, I thought that just because, you know, John, you said, you know, a lot of people think of addiction as, you know, alcohol and drugs. Well, there's addiction all over, and it runs rampant throughout anything that controls your life, or is you know, basically it controls your life, is a addiction, and it can be an unhealthy one at that. It just, yeah.
That's healthy. That's a healthy. I've
Not
done that.
excess amount.
Not the 12 pots a day I
healthy.
drink.
It's healthy. It's not healthy on any given month, any given 30-day cycle about coffee. Yeah, you know what else, Ben? What you said that I thought was really key. You know, as a first responder, and we have the opportunity to talk to a lot of them. A lot of them say, well, I need somebody who gets me. Okay. And what I heard you say about Treehouse Recovery is because you're active duty, military veterans, first responders and public, I'll just call them public civilians, are all together. It's what's the common thread is the addiction part. And I think maybe it's the times that we're living in, that if we can be in a place we're bridging a cultural understanding while healing together, I think Treehouse is on to something.
Yeah. Everybody battles. He said,
Yeah.
civilians, you know, you could be working in a Quickie Mart down the block. You're going to have stresses. Everybody battles, either personally, job, financially, maritally, anything, right? And it hits people in different ways, but it's the coping mechanisms that make you move on. If you have skewed coping mechanisms on anything, no matter what branch of the service or what you do in life, if you don't have the proper coping mechanisms to get you through the next day, you're going to fail, right? So we all battle. So that's our common denominator right there. Like you said, it's the addictions, but the battle is all real. Doesn't matter if you seen somebody shot or you shot somebody or you got into a car accident. The battle is real. Trauma has that zero factor, man. Everybody deals with it differently. And as long as we can all understand that within each other, we can get educated on why the Quickie Mart guy is all pissed off. Maybe because it's the toilet's clogged all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's all about cleaning up shit, you know? Everybody has that common denominator. And once we start educating ourselves and learning about each other, we know that there's more to life than just the military or the law enforcement or the firefighting. We're looking and reading each other as individuals and as humans, and we're bringing humanity back. And when you can put that into your soul, there's nothing you can't do.
Absolutely.
Ben, real quick, where Treehouse is healing mind, body, spirit. So where does the spirit part come in?
So the spirituality portion of it is, yes, that's a huge factor of it. Now we don't force an individual to explore that. We welcome that, because if that's, you know, at a stage of their life where they're learning new, healthier habits, you know, forcing a belief down someone's throat or letting someone, I guess that what Treehouse does is we let them explore their spirituality. I did when I was there. I attended a church regularly when I was there, and it helped me greatly. There's some that didn't, and it helped them. So what I think the best way to approach spirituality is allowing that resource to be there, but allowing that individual to welcome that resource on his or her time.
That's great. That's great. I thought that was one of the really cool things that, you know, again, if you're listening, go to treehouserecovery.com. And Ben, you work out of the Tennessee, it's not a chapter, it's a facility. So
yes.
Is it California and Tennessee, or do you have others?
So Treehouse has the PHP. So the programs are 3 to 5 month long programs in Costa Mesa, California, and Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And then soon to be Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And then Treehouse Recovery has the IOPs, which is the 3 days a week. We have them in those 3 locations as well. And additionally, we have it in Nashville, Tennessee. So here in Nashville, Tennessee, we meet Wednesday, Friday at 6:30 p.m. till about 9:30 p.m. and then Sundays at 8 to 10:30 a.m. So it's been yes.
You guys are
we've been all over.
That is fantastic. And go to the website, explore. If everything that Ben has talked about is resonating with you. Because again, the trauma has zero value. We're connected by the one thing, which is the addiction, the needing to break it, but receiving life-changing, life-altering life skills to be able to do that. Because just Ben, you said it perfectly. The stress is always going to be there, and knowing that you have a community that you can rely on, pick up the phone when needed. But coupled with all of those skills, that's ultimately what's going to save you in the end from a relapse. And I know from lots of programs that when you need it, you pick up that phone and you've got somebody right there.
Absolutely, Sam. And you know, the great thing about also at Treehouse, and this kind of sums it up, is that moment that you pick up that phone call, we are in action. There's times where, you know, an individual calls Treehouse and says, I need help. And there are times where people are like, okay, I'm on a plane. I'm getting out there. I'm going to fly out to this individual's house, location, wherever in this country. And I'm going to help them get on a plane, and I'm going to get them to Treehouse. So we pride ourselves on, hey, if that person does that courageous, you know, feat of picking up that phone and says, I need help, I'm raising my hand, that's all you have to do. Treehouse will take it from there. We'll make sure everything's in place. You get to the appropriate level of care that you need, and we'll get you back into society physically and mentally fit.
That
awesome.
is fantastic. Ben, can't thank you enough for coming on tonight, sharing your story with everybody. And it's right there, treehouserecovery.com, folks. Ben, thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, you always got a community right here.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Thank you, John and Sam.
You
really appreciate it.
Anytime, brother.
Thank
Absolutely.
you very much.
Take care. We'll be in touch.
All right. Bye-bye.
Wow, just fantastic. And again, it's stressful enough to say me, I got to pick up the phone. I need help. Knowing that as soon as you do that, it's like whoosh, safety net. You don't have to worry about anything else. They've got you. And so if you have any questions for Ben, also, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we connected on LinkedIn. So Ben is on LinkedIn, and he puts up posts about where he's speaking. He just did a great speaking event recently, so you can connect with him there. And Treehouse is also on, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram as well. So you can go and connect with them. You know, for everybody who tunes in every week, thank you so much. If you're just tuning in, please hit that like and subscribe button if you want. One of our amazing partners at Defenders Gateway, you know, Ben is a veteran. He served this country. This company, Defenders Gateway, continues to serve in a way where they are bringing tried and true America's warriors, first responders, and family members together. They've got a community where you can, at the touch of an app on your phone, you have access to lots of really interesting businesses. You can find out about events, all geared for you. They're also building out a wellness and resiliency portion on that app. So Defenders Gateway, thank you so much for what you do. And every week you see these guys carry the load. We're going into May, which is Memorial May. Everybody talks about, you know, Memorial Day. It's a time not to buy a freaking mattress, people. It's a time to say thank you to the families and our soldiers that sacrifice, and to remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. And John, you and I and the entire team at A Badge of Honor are so honored to be nonprofit partners with Carry the Load again this year. Now, what does that mean? Because there's a lot of people that still need help. You heard it from Ben in while he's in active duty. Okay. Our warriors need our help. You can go to abadgeofhonor.org, and there's a pop-up on how you can either be a part of our team and join us in Dallas over the Memorial Day weekend, or direct donate there. I mean, if you have $1 to give, please just give the dollar. Know that we are grateful beyond for your help. And the money comes back to us and goes right to the first responders and the veterans and their families. that we serve. So check that out at badgeofhonor.org. That's also where our events, you can find where we are on the events tab up there. And to all of our first responders out there, we are praying for you every single day. Thank you for what you do in our communities to keep us safe. For our veterans out there, thank you for fighting the good fight that allows John and I to do a show like this every single week. And to our active duty personnel spread out throughout the world, thank you for keeping our shores safe here at home. John, take us home.
Man, I think this was probably one of the most powerful things here in Ben's story, which was great, but, just reiterates and it reinforces to all our first responders and our veterans out there and anybody who has a job. Your job does not define you. You define who you are. Don't ever, have pride in your job, but never lose your why and always be defined by your heart, not by the uniform you wear, the badge you wear, the cap you wear, or anything else. Your heart defines who you are. Till next week. Peace.
See you next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBN Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBN Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.